My name is Patrick.
And I'm Jordan Cordell.
Wow, we like to traumatize our listeners as soon as they start listening to the podcast.
Yeah, because then they're like turning it up because we're so quiet, and then we do it, and then they go, and then we bust their speakers.
Mm-hmm. That's the goal, to bust your speakers. And today we are a horror comedy ASMR.
Just
podcast.
today, though.
Just today. Tomorrow, who knows what will be.
The world's always done.
It's always changing. And today we're talking about the cinematic hits. Quiet Place. Well, I guess we'll mostly talk about Quiet Place Part 1, but we can do a little bit of conversation about Quiet Place Part 2 because Jordan didn't do the assignment.
I watched it when it came out, and then
Well, I
I
guess that
forgot
counts for
about it. I
something.
forgot it existed.
But before we get to that, we're going to drink something. So,
Oh, God.
Jordan, will you hand me that red decanter over there? Wow, some good ASMR sounds. Beautiful. Wow. So you might be asking, what is this? Jordan's asking because I haven't told her yet.
I'm very scared.
So this movie is directed and written by John Krasinski, who you may know from the hit TV sitcom, the American version of The Office. And on The Office, this is a long train of thought. Michael Scott, who Steve Carell plays, has a favorite drink, which is Scotch and Splenda.
Oh my God.
Tastes like Splenda, gets you drunk like Scotch. So that's what we have today.
Have you tried it already?
Nope.
I am so terrified. Scotch and
I don't know how much
Splenda?
this is. Just a little.
You gave me so much more than you did.
I'm coming back.
That is disgusting.
Now we
Oh,
gotta do a real
smell,
cheers.
sniff test.
Put that back over there.
Okay, it's not. The smell isn't as bad as I thought. Okay, never mind. The second one is worse.
I'm gonna cheers.
We just sippy sip.
Do a sippy sip. Yeah, it's a little sippy drink. Let's find out.
I'm really nervous.
Put some hair on your chest, specifically your nipples.
Wow. Well, mine are already hairy, so I don't need any more of that. Thank you.
Wow, we are a full
Wow.
full exposure. What's full disclosure podcast?
I'm just kidding. I don't have hair on my nipples.
That's
But if I
good.
did, I wouldn't tell you.
Well, you just
Exactly how you know I don't.
fair.
Wow. Wait,
before
way
we-
to start.
Huh?
What a way to start.
What a way to start. It's like taking shots, but slow.
Ooh, and a little sweet.
A little sippy. It's like this is how adults drink apparently, as they drink like, straight whiskey.
Oh my God, that's absolutely horrible. But I don't want that at all.
But before we get started talking about Quiet Place, what have you been watching lately?
Literally the worst.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so a few things I have been watching. Sorry. It's so bad. Okay, so as we all know, or I'm assuming the new season of True Detective is out. I think we're like 3 or 4 episodes in.
Haven't started it yet.
It is very interesting.
Do I need to watch season 1 and 2
No.
first? Because I never have.
They're the anthology.
And
I can never say it right. Anthology. I always had an R in there for some reason. So no, every season of True Detective is different. So you don't need to watch any of the other seasons. However, season 2 was great. Season 3 was like, it was all right. But this season is like very different than any of the other seasons that I've seen so far. Yeah, so that's what I've been watching. I highly recommend. It's very creepy. Like, it's not just like true crime. It's, well, God, it's not a true crime, but you know what I mean? It's not just crime. This season is kind of creepy.
It's spooky.
It's got a little spooky vibe. I like it.
Doesn't it have Jodie Foster in it?
It does. I love Jodie Foster.
Me too.
She's
An
great.
icon.
She plays a little sassy woman.
Sassy woman.
A movie I also watched. I started this movie not realizing that it was like 5 hours long, but I was like, oh, I'll just start. It was like 9 o'clock. I was like, oh, I'll just watch this. It'll be over around 11, and then I can go to bed. 2 a.m. This thing's still going. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh yeah, I haven't
Have you
watched
seen
it?
it?
Mm-mm. It's long as shit. I've heard
It's
though.
no one told me.
It's Martin Scorsese. His movies are like always.
Yeah, I
incredibly long.
guess. Yeah, you're right.
That's how they go.
I guess. That was an amateur move on my part, but I watched it. It is a little slower. However, the storyline's fantastic. The acting's fantastic. If you have 5 hours to spare to check it out.
Which everyone does nowadays. Just 5 hours.
It's just 5 quick hours. What is this? American Nightmare.
I don't know. It's on your list. You said, what is this? As if I could help you.
Okay. American Nightmare. It is a true crime docu-series. I don't know if you heard about this case I think it was in California. This happened in I think it was like 2015, 2018, somewhere in that time frame. This couple just like went to bed, and then in the middle of the night, these guys broke into their house, put swim goggles on them. They were wearing wetsuits, and they left the guy like tied up in the closet, and they took the girlfriend for 48 hours, and then they brought her back. But then like for 48 hours, they thought the boyfriend was in on it. And then when the girlfriend showed back up, they were calling her like the real life Gone Girl. Anyway, I won't spoil it for you, but it's actually really sad.
Is there a reason for the wetsuits?
You have to watch it.
I keep waiting for that. Like,
it's very quirky.
They took her to the lake.
No, it's so quirky and weird and just very odd and bizarre. So if you're looking for a good head scratcher, there is a conclusion to it, so it doesn't leave you without any answers, which I don't like when true crime leaves you without answers.
Because a lot of times life does not have any answers for you.
Yes.
And that's sad.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Did that sound like an end of podcast?
What about you?
Wow. I haven't watched a lot of TV because I've had no free time ever since we last recorded for some reason.
Yeah.
But I did watch actually several movies. I watched the Cube series. Have you ever watched Cube?
The Cube? No, I've not.
It like gives me that same vibe because I think it's from like the early, like the 90s, 2000s of like.
Keep talking. I think I have seen it. I need to look up.
I feel like it's the precursor to like Escape Room or like the Escape Room series because it's like a very escape room except for they're just like random looking cell rooms that people keep trying to move through, and some of them have booby traps and some don't.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
I watched Cube 1, 2, and 3 because there's 3 of them, and I don't think they're actually Cube 1, 2, 3. They have other titles, and the first one was interesting. The second one was very bad, and the third one was interesting again. I had one other movie that is from a while ago, but I feel like I never mentioned it, so maybe I have. Did you ever watch Malum? Malum.
No, I'm not from Malum. I haven't seen this.
It wasn't good.
Okay.
But it was another one of those movies. I feel like I get on this soapbox every episode. TikTokers. Stop it.
Cut it out.
I know it gets you more views to say, oh my God, I loved it so much. And we've already even had a clip of this, but stop saying movies are good when they're not.
That's what we should start doing on our TikTok.
Just be like, oh my God,
we should pick
this movie, Exorcist Believer, was the best movie I've ever seen.
I had nightmares for weeks. I couldn't even finish it. It was so terrifying.
The fact it's not nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars this year, travesty.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you this. I was on my way to work this morning, and every Thursday, I listen to Rattled and Shook, which is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. It is a podcast where they talk about real life horror stories that their listeners write in. Mm-hmm. And there are 2 stories on this episode today. The episode is called Dressed for Distress. And it was about, the 2 of the stories was about these people when they were kids, they'd be laying in bed. And then around 3 or 4 in the morning, they would wake up and there would be a tall figure standing either at the foot of the bed or by the door of their bedroom. And it's wearing like a trench coat, like a big long coat and a top hat. Okay. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I was little, I would say I was probably like between like 8 and 12, like around that time frame. In the middle of the night, around 3 or 4, there was probably like 2 or 3 times I vividly remember this. It would always be when it's raining. But the same thing, I would wake up and I'd see a tall, dark figure standing in the door, around the door of my bedroom, and he would have like a long, like, think Babadook,
But not gay.
And like tall, and you couldn't see like any facial features. There was just like a giant shadow, and he had a top hat on. And he would always start in the corner of my room, and he would slowly float. So like Babadook mixed with the bowler hat man from Haunting of Hill House.
I hate it.
He would like float. And then I would always close my eyes, and then I'd wake up in the next morning. Okay. And so anyway, I vividly remember this, and I think that's why Haunting of Hill House like kind of freaked me out, and like Babadook, like that, just like it reminds me of that thing that I saw.
And why just like tall men in general scare you?
Yeah. Short kings for life.
Yeah. Does Mason qualify as a short king? He's like an average height king.
He says he's 5'11", 5'10". I'm like, maybe. We'll give it to him.
Sure.
We'll give it to him.
He's going to listen to this and be like, what the fuck?
He's somewhere around there. But yeah, no. So I was talking with again, I'm bringing this up because I heard that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so strange because a year ago I was talking to my friend, we were out at a bar one night, and she was talking about how her house is haunted, and I started telling her about this like top hat man, whatever. And she told me that she has seen someone, like she woke up one time when she was younger, she woke up in the middle of the night, looked outside, and she saw the same thing. And she even told me that she has a friend that has seen a similar figure. It always has a top hat and like a trench coat or like a long like jacket of sorts. So anyway, I would love to know if any of our listeners,
if you're the top hat man out there, write in and say why you're doing this.
But like, what is that? Like, are we really all just seeing a similar figure? Is it something that we all watched when we were younger and we're like pulling that from somewhere? Like, I don't know. I just think it's so fascinating that we all are describing essentially the exact same thing. And it really just got me creeped out.
If I go to bed tonight or any other night and I see a tall man with a top hat floating in my room, you might not ever hear from me again because I'm going to blame it on this and you. On that note.
On that high note, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about A Quiet Place.
Yeah. Be right back. Wow. Oh.
You just murdered us.
We're dead.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Anyway.
Welcome back to Silent Screaming Resurrected. Today we're talking about the hit movie, now series, because there's about to be a third one this year.
Oh,
well, it's in the same universe.
Is it still going to be called A Quiet Place?
It's called A Quiet Place, Day One.
Day One. All right. Well, before we jump in, I'm going to go ahead and crack open a cold one. This is from Third Coast Beach. Wait, it's from Third Coast. It's a DHC seltzer, and it's called Beach Break Swellberry. I hope it tastes like swellberry.
What's swellberry?
I don't know.
It tastes like the ocean.
Oh, yeah. Get up. I go some more. Oh, yeah. Now we're going to pour it into this glass. This glass of ice.
Riveting content.
Actually smells very good.
Now are you going to slurp it?
A little tappy tap. Okay, now we're good. Okay, now we sip it.
That actually works really well into my next segment because the cracking of that can would have killed you probably in that moment.
How do people not like fart?
That's my segment right here.
This is actually really good. You want a sip?
Yeah, sure. I'll try it.
Wow. That's really tasty. It tastes like nothing.
Ooh.
But like it's like refreshing.
It's like a nice seltzer.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, me too.
that, our this first segment I wanted to do was about the concept of Quiet Place or the universe of Quiet Place. I think I overthink these movies, or horror movies in general, about like what I would do in them or how that would translate to real life. And as much as I love the Quiet Place series, I love them. I think they're great movies, and we'll get into that. I don't think we're accounting for how definitely everyone would be dead. Like everyone. No one would be making it. Here's why. So I made a top 5 list, and Jordan's going to make one on the fly.
Oh, shit.
I wrote down the top 5 things that would get me killed first in the Quiet Place universe. Number 1, snoring. I snore.
Oh, yeah, you do.
2, pooping.
Yeah.
TMI to our audience, I'm a loud pooper. I'm sorry. Like, I've Googled how to poop quieter.
Like the plopping or the farting?
All of it.
Okay.
There's just a lot of noise happening. And I don't know how to not do that. Like, how do you do that quieter? I used to live in a house where there was no, like, the walls were so thin, and my roommates would just laugh at me every time I went to poop because they could hear it. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? I'm a loud pooper.
Get it out, butt out, then in.
So that would get me killed, and that'd be a really embarrassing way to go. Number 3 would be my knees and other joints popping. That would definitely get me killed. Number 4, eating chips. Because, so one of the details that I saw in trivia and also noticed when I was watching it the second time, in the grocery store in A Quiet Place, in that first scene, all of the shelves are pretty much empty except for one, and it's the chip aisle. Because no one wants to go eat chips because that will get them killed because too loud. Too loud to open, too loud to eat.
Right.
I'd risk it for some potato chips. I'm sorry, I would do it.
I think just eating in general.
Yeah, I think eating would always be loud. You could only eat soft foods.
Like refried beans.
Yeah, exactly.
But you couldn't even get the can open.
Exactly. Can opening would be loud. And lastly, in relation to that, opening anything ever. Because, especially when you're trying to be quiet, like when you come home at night and like your roommate or boyfriend or whoever is asleep and you're like, oh, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to just like walk around over here. And then you like open a door and it like sounds like the apocalypse happening while it opens. That would be all the time. All the time you'd be trying to not make noise in every door you open, every shelf you open, every can. Like you could never have a soda ever again, which I'm not willing to live in that universe. I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't. I was like, okay, bye. Sorry, bye.
So those are my 5.
Okay.
What are your 5?
My internal screaming would be one.
They're that loud.
They're that loud. No, I would say probably just like flatulence, because like when you're sleeping, they come out and you have literally no control over that. My number 2 is I also do this thing. I know I learned about it in like the 3rd grade. When I was in the 3rd grade. I'm just going to quote TikToks the whole time. I have this thing. It's almost like a tick where I make this like noise because I quite literally forget to breathe sometimes. And it's like me gasping for air, So I think that, because I wouldn't even know I'm doing it. It's just like, it's just a habit. I would say my 3rd would be kind of similar to that, where I would just be, I randomly sing songs that come into my head. I don't know where they come from. My inner demons, I'm assuming, but so singing, so that would be my 3rd. I would agree with you. What
song would get you killed first, you think?
I always sing, I don't know why, but I always sing, this is so random, Story on My Life from One Direction.
That feels
but not the whole song, literally just that line.
Because you probably sing it in context, like when something dumb happens.
Yeah, every time something inconvenient happens. So I would say that my dog would definitely get me killed.
Honestly, Betty would have to go first. I'm sorry. I'd have to like let her outside and just let her.
Like,
I love you, baby, but you're too loud.
Baby. See, I think I would just instinctually just like jump in front of her and then we would both die.
You're a better dog parent than me.
Mason. I'd probably be like, shut up. I'd probably be me like getting frustrated with him or something. Because if I don't communicate my feelings, it just builds. And I think eventually it would just build. And then lastly, I would agree with you. I think just living in general, like just...
Yeah, you would eventually forget.
Even drinking water. Like we need water
like
unless you have a straw.
Exactly. You always have to have your Stanley. But you drop a Stanley, you're dead.
Absolutely. So
This is a sponsored podcast, but no, I'm kidding. Stanley does not sponsor me.
I don't own a Stanley. I'm not a Stanley girl.
It was a gift. I didn't buy it. It was a gift.
There's no shame in your Stanley game.
Okay, girl. There's no shame. But what are some of your thoughts about The Quiet Place? The Quiet Place.
You know what? I really, really loved A Quiet Place, the first one. I thought it was refreshing that we had some representation for the ASL community. Mm-hmm. I thought that it was really cool to hear how everyone on set really took time to learn how to communicate with people that used ASL. I thought that was really cool. I thought the acting was great. I love Emily Blunt. I love John Krasinski. I just, there's something about them on screen together and knowing they're like real life partners is just really cool. I thought it had a nice build whenever, like at the beginning of the movie, like, she's pregnant. So the whole movie, you it's coming.
Yeah.
But then the scene where she actually has to have the baby, it's very stressful. And I thought they did a really nice job building that. Obviously, I hated the part, spoiler alert, when he dies.
Yeah.
And then even honestly, I knew it was going to be a good movie whenever they were walking back home from the store and the little boy took the toy and it started going off. I was like, oh shit. Because normally, like we've talked about, kids are normally safe, but they were like
immediately dead. Do you remember the experience of watching Quiet Place like in theaters?
It was the most awkward movie to watch if you're at like an Alamo Draft House or somewhere where you could eat.
Yeah, because like I saw this in the trivia too. This was apparently common everywhere, which makes sense. Is like everyone was afraid subconsciously or consciously to make noise in the theater. Mm-hmm. So like you just didn't. So like you just like sat there. I remember like having popcorn and every kernel I was like barely touching it.
You had to like let it dissolve in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. And like people would glare at you if like you made too much noise.
Yeah.
I remember that vividly. But I think like the movies still stand up at home, but like that experience was just like top tier. This is a movie that is best viewed in theaters.
I agree.
I think they did such a good job. I think he thought things through, and just like the way it was made, it sounds like it was really collaborative. Like Millicent Simmons, who was the daughter, Reagan, who's the deaf actress, she pitched the idea to him when he's about to die. I don't know if you saw that trivia fact, where he says like I love you in sign language, and then he says like I have always loved you. She pitched that second layer, and like it was just so good and so wholesome and beautiful, and I just feel like it's a really great build in general. Yeah, it's just a really unique concept. There was another movie that came out right after it, that, like with Stanley Tucci in it. Mr. Tucci. Really?
Tucci, baby.
It had him and Kiernan Shipka.
Yes.
Which I'm like, both people that I didn't expect to do like a knockoff version. I think they probably were in production around the same time, because I'm sure.
I thought I read somewhere that they wrapped filming on that before, but in the editing process,
it got pushed behind. Well,
I would have been pissed.
You fucking lose.
I would have been pissed.
Because even looking at that one objectively, like I tried to watch it for the first time very objectively. I was like, this is not as good, because it was like bats.
Look at it. It's freaking bats.
Freaking bats. I did read that when the first test audience watched Quiet Place, they hadn't finished the CG for the monsters yet. So they were like laughing because it was like unfinished CG, and like John Krasinski did a lot of the motion capture. So it was literally him like being like, "Rah!" And I'm like, the visual of that is so good.
I would have also laughed. I think also it's pretty rare though to have such a beloved actor also do very well in a director/writing role.
Yeah. I think he directed a few other films before this, but this was his first like big in.
Because I think, and maybe it's just me, maybe this is unfair to say, but I just feel like a lot of times if I know an actor, like a pretty famous actor wrote something, I'm like, oh, it's not going to be good. That's like not their forte. But it was really good.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, oh, you're a big famous actor. Sure, you can go ahead, direct it, see what happens. Because like they're not going to say no to like, I don't know, if Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm sure he's directed something. He was like, I want to direct this. They'd be like, yes, Mr. DiCaprio, sure, whatever you say.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, sir. But yeah, I think it's a beautifully done movie. It just had so much attention to detail. One of the questions I had when I watched it the first time, which was answered for me looking at IMDb, which answers all of their questions a lot of the time, was the moment where she has the baby in the tub. First off, I remember being like, that's a lot of blood. I don't think it's supposed to look like that. Like, you're not supposed to bleed that much.
Yeah.
And also, I was always like, how come this baby is not crying? Like, it was born and like did not cry until until a while later. And in the trivia, they talk about how both of those were very intentional choices. One, because they had to figure out a way for the baby to not cry. Otherwise,
they're all dead.
They would have died immediately. And two, the blood was basically her having like a complication in her pregnancy that caused her to like lose consciousness and the baby to like have some developmental issues at first that made it to where it was like, I don't know if it was unconscious, but it wasn't crying because it had like some issue at first. The duration of the silence from the baby after birth would be unusual unless there was a problem with the baby, such as blood loss, which was well explained by the sudden blood loss Evelyn had in the bathtub.
Blood, but here, it's not funny.
Daddy, blood.
Blood.
I love that video. But yeah, I really like, so I know you didn't watch Quiet Place Part 2 again, but that movie I think is also really stellar.
Stellar, dude.
It is, I think, scarier than the first one, actually. Because it's like, I don't know, just a larger scale. You see more destruction. You see the beginning of it.
I think there's more characters, too.
Yeah, there's definitely more characters to get attached to and all that stuff. So, and what I just really like is, well, one, I love Cillian Murphy, so I was glad he was in the second one. I think he did a really great job, Mr. Oppenheimer's, and Mr. Peaky Blinders.
So is this before or after he had the bomb? Probably after. Do you think the bomb created the monsters, and that's...
Are you talking about like an Oppenheimer Quiet Place crossover?
Yeah.
Are you implying that Cillian Murphy is actually Oppenheimer?
I haven't seen Oppenheimer, so I don't know.
It's also 500 hours long, but it's great. It's a good movie.
Is it a mystery on who Oppenheimer is?
No, we all know who he was. Oh. I mean, some of us.
I don't know.
But anyways, love him. But what I really like is that part 1 of Quiet Place, and this is a spoiler for both, so be prepared. Part 1 of The Quiet Place, the penultimate moment is John Krasinski, this character whose name is something I forgot, Mr. Abbott. He sacrifices himself for his kids. And in the end of the second movie, the kids fight for themselves and like end up winning at the end, basically, which I just thought was really beautiful because it was like a growth moment for them. They had to be saved and then they saved themselves, which I think is like so beautiful.
Wow.
It's so much about life.
#blessed.
But anyways, yeah, I love the Quiet Place cinematic universe. I'm excited for the third one, which will feature Lupita Nyong'o and also Joseph Quinn. Eddie, the guitar guy.
Oh.
He is going to be in the sequel. It also is going to bring back Djimon Hounsou, who was in the second movie for a minute and has a very short screen time for the caliber of actor he is. And it will also have Alex Wolff from Hereditary.
Love.
The son.
The boy.
And then Dennis O'Hare from all of the American Horror Stories seasons, which is very exciting.
That's an awesome cast.
It's going to be great. It's not a direct sequel. It's like a spin-off, basically. The same universe,
world.
which I'm excited about because I think the story of the Abbott family is like run its course. We've seen enough of Emily Blunt and her children suffering, basically.
Yeah.
And they should get to live in a little bit of peace now. And now I want to go
without
see...
cameras following them everywhere.
I know, dead ass. Like, oh, what's with the paparazzi? Why can't the paparazzi help? Are the paparazzi that good at being quiet?
Apparently.
Honestly, they would survive, though. Our opinions about paparazzi.
Your opinion, not mine.
You don't hate paparazzi?
I think Born This Way was better. How beautiful in my way. Cause God makes no mistake.
I hate you sometimes. It was about to be like after what they did to Britney and they killed Diana. They killed Princess Diana and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Well, that's that. Do you have any other thoughts about Quiet Place?
I mean, I liked it. Okay, this is a controversial opinion. I liked it, but it wasn't.
Speak the truth.
It's not one that I'm like, oh, I want to go watch that again.
I've seen it 3 times.
See, like I've seen the first one twice. I've seen the second one once. I don't remember the second one at all. Like at all. I know I saw it, but I don't remember watching it.
It's good. It's just.
You said you liked it better than the first one.
I think it's darker than the first one, which makes me like it.
Okay.
I like when horror movies incorporate more people and there's more fodder, basically. When it ends up being like, 1 or 2 people, sometimes that's fun. Sometimes I'm like, I want to see what's happening to other people. Like, especially in these apocalyptic situations.
No, I agree. I remember the first, actually, well, even the second time I watched A Quiet Place, you don't really get any dialogue until well into the movie. And I think I thought this both times. I'm like, is this really going to be how it is the whole time? Okay. I mean, thank God the acting was great. The writing was great. The directing was great. But like, I get bored very easily. I just do. I do.
You? ADHD?
No, never.
No. I can't say that. I have severe ADHD
I just think that like it could have been a short for me personally. I think there was a lot of things like in it. I think A Quiet Place 1, a lot of it was like how to live quietly. I felt like it was like a DIY, like I was watching a how to do things quietly.
How to.
I think we could have done like the first scene, maybe some character development, and then the final scene. I don't know.
Wow, Jordan's a fucking hater.
I'm not a hater. I'm just trying to add some diversity to the opinion table.
Diversity from a white straight woman.
But I am a woman. I think you're right. I think because like even in movies that have come out recently, like Leave the World Behind and what's the alien one that just came out recently on Hulu?
No One Will Save You? Or?
Yeah. No One Will Save You. Like the whole time I'm kind of with you. Like the whole time I'm like, where are the neighbors? Where is their mom? What happened with what happened with the other kids? I'm thinking about.
Maybe we're just too fucking nosy. Like that's why.
I think so. I am pretty nosy, but I think for me, what would have like been a little, probably a little bit more entertaining is maybe if we had 2 or 3 storylines going at the same time, and then somehow at the end they all merge together. If you like this podcast, rate, review, subscribe, follow us on Instagram at Silent Screaming Podcast or on TikTok.
Also at Silent Screaming Podcast.
Yep. And if you want to email us and tell us how garbage we are, you can also email us at www.
We don't have a website yet.
How does emails work? silentscreamingpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. Also, I really encourage you to leave some hate comments on our social medias because they bring me a lot of joy. So say mean things to us. It's funny.
We love it. It's our it's like a fetish for us.
We're masochists. Don't make sure to be quiet and don't drink in podcasts.